Welcome to the 5 on 5. We are pleased to be joined by Shamus Lynsky, Interim Executive Director for the Oregon Consumer League. Shamus, thanks so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Now, you are here to advocate for the passing of Measure 97, a corporate sales tax on large corporations. There's obviously been a lot of talk that it will raise prices for consumers. You actually authored a study that says they won't see any change. How did you come to that conclusion?
That's correct. Well, first of all, I'd like to just make a clarification. There's a big misconception out there that this is sort of a new way of taxing corporations, and it's not. It's the current method for taxing. It's the alternate tax. So it's currently, corporations are currently taxed on sales. So that's nothing new. What Measure 97 does is change the rate for the large C corporations that are making over 25 million. It charges an extra 2.5% on the amount above 25 million. And that's an important distinction because there's only about 1,000 corporations that'll be affected by this. It's fewer than 1% of corporations doing business in Oregon. And the large corporations that this targets are the types of corporations that have national price strategies. And so we looked at those types of corporations. We looked at Target, Kroger, who owns Fred Meyer, Walmart, Lowe's, and Toys R Us. And we looked at pretty basic household goods, and what we discovered was the price of, say, a loaf of bread is the same in North Dakota, which has the highest corporate taxes in the country, as it is in Oregon, which has the lowest corporate taxes in the nation. So they have remarkably consistent pricing across the nation. There are some variations, but that's usually due to, say, transportation costs or availability of materials.
So you're saying competition will keep those prices low?
I'm saying that. Our study showed that, and I'm not alone in that. The Associated Oregon Industries even tweeted on September 9th that, quote, if you think that grocery stores can just raise prices if Measure 97 passes, you should read this. And they linked to an article that explained how these large grocery stores are in very tight markets and that their prices are driven by competition and demand.
Now, wouldn't a company whose tax bill just increased significantly, now finds itself with a decreased profit, look to make up that change by either changing operations or their price structure?
Well, I reject that it would be price structure because every state has a different corporate tax rate. Oregon's down at 50th in the nation, according to many measures. And, you know, we're lower than Washington, Idaho, and California. And, you know, if you go into a Walmart or Fred Meyer, you can see that the prices are not, they're not graduated by what the corporation's paying in corporate taxes in that state. That's not how they do their pricing. And
what about jobs?
Well, we also feel that this is, you know, Measure 97 is great for jobs. I mean, it's creating, with revenue from this, we can hire 8,000 new teachers. We can double the number of in-home care workers. These are great jobs that are family wage jobs, and they're providing services that Oregonians need.
Much more to talk about, Shamus. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back. Welcome back. We're pleased to be joined again by Shamus Lynsky, Interim Executive Director of the Oregon Consumer League. Shamus, once again, thanks so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
We're talking about Measure 97. You're here to advocate for the passing of it. The measure calls for the money to go to K-12 education, healthcare, and senior services, but we know that the money can actually go wherever the legislature wants it to. How did that come about?
How did what come about?
How did the idea that the money could be used, you know, in the general fund for anything, although it is being, you know,
sure,
talked about being used for K-12 and health and human services?
So Section 3 of the measure specifically says that the funds raised by this will be directed towards education, healthcare, and senior services. When the measure passes, that becomes law. Now, the money does go into the general fund, and they do have to vote on the budget, but guess what? 80% of the budget is spent on education, healthcare, and senior services. This is where the money is going. This is where the money is needed. We have a $2 billion deficit in being able to provide the quality education model for Oregon schools. We have a close to $1.5 billion hole in the Oregon Health Authority budget, which provides assistance to low-income Oregonians for healthcare costs, mental health care, and senior services. So this is clearly where the money is needed. This is clearly where the money is going to go and where the measure directs it.
Now, Sid DeBoer from Lithium Motors sat in that same exact chair, and he said if 97 passed, they would have to increase the price of the cars that they sell, and no one would buy a car from them when they have competition that is not going to be affected by that tax and selling the same car for a lower price. What would you say to them?
Well, I would say that if they, it's sort of a negative feedback loop, isn't it? If they raise the price on their cars, they increase their sales, which increases the tax under this measure, which would, I mean, they can't do that, is what I would say. They need to stay competitive, and you know, Lithia is a great success story in Oregon, and across the region, and they have, you know, huge sales. They're a multi-billion-dollar corporation, I believe. So I believe large corporations like that should be paying their fair share.
Shamus, thanks so much for being here. We appreciate
Thanks
your time.
for having me.
We'll be right back.